and welcome to Stories for Wonderful Children. I'm Dan Wendelin, your host and storyteller. Years ago, I began recording the bedtime stories I told my children every night. Now, I'd like to share those stories with you. I hope you enjoy my Stories for Wonderful Children. There's a little girl named Winella. She lives in a very special house full of many special rooms. But in this story, Winella isn't in her house. This story begins with Winella floating down the Brook of Dreams. She and Joey had dived into the Brook of Dreams to escape from the misconductor, who is coming to stop them from freeing the fairies, the music fairies. Now, anyone who dives into the Brook of Dreams has dreams as they are being swept along. Joey was dreaming a very good dream. He was dreaming about having a giant frozen birdseed ice cream cone all to himself, and it was coated with birdseed sprinkles, and he was eating it. He was going, oh, and he was very, very happy. This was probably his favorite dream, the one about the birdseed ice cream cone with birdseed sprinkles. Winella's dream, though, Winella's dream was very strange. In Winella's dream, she was lying on her back in a quiet room that had all sorts of beautiful colors in it. And she had been lying there for a moment, and she opened her eyes, and she could see a person standing there. The person was dressed all in the brightest white and was watching her. He was seated on a big white chair. Winella opened her eyes and said, "Where am I?" And the person said, "You're dreaming." And Winella said, "Oh, is that why I can talk?" And the person said, "Yes." Winella said, "Who are you?" And the person on the chair said, "I'm the conductor. Treble is my land. I made it, and I made the music fairies and all the music and sounds in it. I set everything in motion so that all the sounds would work together to make beautiful music and speech. But the misconductor has come to my land, Winella. He does not like the beauty of the music and the beauty of words and the beauty of sounds and noises. He wants to stamp them all out, which is why he has summoned this silence. I am the one who sent you the omni-harp through Flibbertigibbet, so that you may free the fairies, so that they may set the land right again and banish the silence from the land of Treble." And Winella said, "But I don't know how to do it. I have no idea how to free fairies. I'm not even very good at playing music yet." And the conductor just smiled and said, "We all have music inside us, Winella. We just have to find it and learn to let it out." He said, "And you've been doing wonderfully. You have already freed 3 of my 7 fairies. You are halfway there, which is why the misconductor is chasing you and trying to stop you." And Winella said, "Oh, who are the fairies that I still need to free?" And the conductor said, "You still need to free mi, fa, sol, and ti. Before the day is out, you will encounter me, and I know that you have it within you to free her. And I also know that you will free the other fairies, and that with their help you will defeat the rests and the silence, and you will send the misconductor out of my land of Treble, so that music and beauty may once again reign." And then the dream began to grow darker and darker and darker. And then Winella's eyes popped open, and she and Joey were both lying on their backs on a little sort of island made out of sand in the middle of the brook. The water was just lapping at their toes and sort of tickling a little bit. When Winella opened her eyes, the first thing she did was listen carefully. But she couldn't hear the screeching, banging, awful, clanking noises that the Miss Conductor had been making when he had come looking for them. So she stretched and sat up and sang, "Joey, Joey, 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 Joey. Joey, Joey, Joey." Joey was not waking up. He was enjoying his birdseed ice cream dream too much. So Winella said, "Hey!" And then she thought to herself, "Oh my goodness, I was able to just make a loud noise." She said, "That must be because I've freed Ray. She's the fairy in charge of loud and funny noises. So now I can sing and make funny noises." But Joey still hadn't woken up, so she tried again. She said, "Hey!" And when she shouted it very loud like that, she heard a voice behind her singing, saying, "You don't need to shout, I can hear you fine." Winella turned around and didn't see anything at all. She sang, "Is someone there? Hello?" And she stopped, and then she looked down at her feet, and she saw that in the rippling water, a face was taking shape, and then a whole head rose out of the water, shoulders, arms, and wings. It looked like it was indeed the shape of a fairy, but she didn't have normal skin and eyes and hair like all the other fairies Winella had met. This fairy looked like she was made entirely out of water or glass. You could see right through her. You could just sort of see this shimmering outline of her. She was like a person made entirely out of water. She was easily the most beautiful thing Winella had ever seen. And Winella just looked at her and she said, "Who are you?" And the fairy smiled and said, "Well, I'm not tea, so I must be me." And Winella looked at her and sang, "Me, I've been looking for you. I've come to get you to help me. The Miss Conductor has summoned the silence." Me smiled and said, "Well, I am the fairy of saying things in a pretty way. You can say it, then you can say it with play." And Winella sang to her, she said, "Have you been captured or hurt by the silence? How can I help you?" And me said, "Oh, you already have. You see, I was taking a bath when the silence arrived, and so I dived, but I got lost in the water and couldn't bring myself together. And hearing you making your loud and noisy shout, well, it snapped me right out." Winella smiled and sang, "You're quite the little rhyming fairy, aren't you?" And the fairy smiled and said, "That's me. I'm the fairy of poetry." And Winella sang, "Well, now that you're here, I was wondering," and me sort of frowned at her a little bit, and she said, "Why do you say everything in song? Now that I'm back, you can just talk right along." And Winella said, I can talk. Oh, I can talk. Oh, it's so nice to be able to talk. I'm just going to stand here and talk for a minute, if that's all right." And me said, "Well, what were you going to ask me, Winella dear?" And Winella said, "Well, who's the next fairy I need to free? Do you know?" And me thought for a moment. She said, "Well, I guess you must go looking for Fa." And Winella sang, she sang, "But where is Fa?" And then she smiled and said, "Well, wait, I forgot, I don't have to sing anymore." She said, "Where is Fa?" And me said, "I don't know. She likes to be around things that grow." Me looked down and said, "You have the omni-harp. Why don't you use it to see where Fa is?" And Winella said, "I don't know how." And me said, "Well, here, hold out your hand with your map on your hand on it, and then take that hand with the map and pluck the string for Fa, and then hold it over the water here. So Winella held the Omni harp over the water, and she plucked the string for fa, using the hand of the map. And when she plucked the string, fa, 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 the noise that came from the string made the water underneath it vibrate until, watching it, the ripples formed a map of Treble. And there they could see that there was a little bump in the water on the map where fa was. And me said, oh, she's on the other side of fairyland, of Treble from us. She's far, far away. Ha 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 ha. Oh, I never get tired of that joke. And Winella said, well, that's okay. I just need to wake Joey up so we can go. And then me frowned at the map and she said, oh dear. And Winella said, look. And Winella said, what? And me said, well, see that weird sort of ripple right near fa? And Winella nodded and said, yes. And me said, well, that means that the misconductor is near her. You'll have to find a way to get her away from the misconductor. It looks like he's guarding her and waiting for you. Oh, and I can see those other little bumps near him? Those are his rests. I don't know how you're going to do this, Winella. And Winella said, I'll do it the way I do everything, with a little help from my friends. And then she shook Joey and she said, come on, Joey, we've got to go home. We need some more help. And with that, they took to the sky on the way back home. Winella was going to collect some more friends and teach the misconductor that she was not a little girl to be trifled with.
Thanks for listening to Stories for Wonderful Children. Today's story was created and edited by me, Dan Wendelin. Commentary was supplied by my children. Intro and outro music composed by Brandon Thompson. If you enjoyed the story, please tell someone about it or leave a review on iTunes. If you'd like to, you can contact us by email at storiesforwonderfulchildren@gmail.com. I'll see you next time.